Welcome back to Enemies of the Fire. We're going to discuss Heitz, and was he deserving, we already know the answer, of another contract after 4 years of missing the playoffs?
DPG, what do you think?
So we're talking about Heitz here?
Yeah. And what's his leash? If with all that being said, 4 years of no playoffs,
he's done. After if we don't make the playoffs this year, I think he's done. Like you can't justify keeping him anymore. Like we've gone through like 4 different roster changes.
Well, if that's his leash, what is Frank Klopas's? Especially knowing that Heitz moved on from Ezra Hendrickson after Ezra had about 46 games in him. He played about 10 in the 2023 season, and Heitz had seen enough of Ezra Hendrickson. How many more games does Frank Klopas have?
Well, if the writing is on the wall by the summer, meaning that the Fire are not going to make the playoffs, we pretty much are like getting the wooden spoon. I think Klopas is done. They kind of go hand in hand. If the writing's on the wall, chances are Heitz is probably done at the end of the season. But they're probably going to get rid of Klopas, around the summer.
But they would have to get rid of both of them at that point because you can't let Heitz make the next.
Yeah. No, the Heitz is not going to. No, they're just going to let Heitz finish out the season. They're not going to let him hire anybody. They're not going to. They probably won't even let him sign anybody.
At that point, go hire Brian McBride, Mike McGee, and let them run this show.
Look, Brian McBride is happy doing his Fox Sports and analytics show, and he's happy coaching his daughter's soccer team. From what he told me last season, so he doesn't want the stress of coaching the Fire.
Well, maybe if I can jump in here and answer the original question James had, was Heitz did not deserve to be back this year.
Nope.
And my full opinion on this is like my opinion has slightly changed in the last couple months, and that is I think Heitz and Klopas are on this team no matter what for the rest of the season, for the whole season, because I think he trusts Heitz more than we do, obviously. And my opinion is Heitz, no matter what, should be done after this season. Because honestly, I feel like Kellen Acosta's free agency fell in your lap. How many other decent strikers were right? And how many other decent strikers were available in the window? Not a lot of strikers internationally moved even, right? Then how many, and then on top of that, you just took some decent defenders from a league and a team you're already associated with, right? So it's like, he still didn't do anything special. Like whoever, like they could have hired a trained monkey and he would have made these same moves. And so the team looks better. I just think we threw enough money at it enough years that it's finally worked out, like timing and money, right?
It's like a mirage for you.
You throw 20 million at the problem year after year, it's bound to get solved sometime.
Right. So I just feel like Heitz isn't the one to move us forward. He's like, he did this like this season. Just get rid of him, get somebody new. But I doubt that's going to happen because I think we'll make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, if they make the playoffs, they're going to keep him.
And to be honest, I'm dead serious. I don't think it's possible. But I actually think Joe thinks he can get one of these big names that's free this year. Either Pep or Jose Mourinho or the Klopp. I really no. You're all shaking your head. Trust me, it's not possible. But I actually think Joe kept Klopas specifically because of these openings that were going to happen.
Coke, you're talking about the 15th richest guy in MLS, not the third.
What's his ambition, though?
That's the question. That's a good question.
You're talking about guys that, when you talk about Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, I don't know who else you mentioned. You're talking about guys that came out of leagues and teams that have hundreds of millions of dollars ready to buy players.
They're not coming over here for a project. They'll come over here for a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like a 1-season cup of tea and a Gatorade. But like a project, like Liverpool's level, those guys belong in the big leagues. And MLS is not the big leagues.
They belong there, but isn't that the last, like, the last bastion, the last thing for Major League Soccer to cross is
But
to
let me ask
get
you this.
go ahead.
How successful have European coaches been in the MLS?
They haven't been, but there's
you can even say the Fire. But
well, wait, hold on. Hans Flick did really, really well with New York. Like, let's not pretend the Supporter Shield is not important. It is. It's awesome.
It doesn't count. You need to win an MLS Cup and no U.S. Open Cup. Supporter Shield is just for the suckers, man.
What's Messi going to go for? The Supporter Shield or MLS Cup?
Okay, well, Messi knows marketing. Like, if you actually want to play good soccer and be a badass, like, win the Supporter Shield, right? But in all seriousness, like, that's the last. It's kind of the same thing I said about DPs. I want a guy to come here and be like, I've won everywhere I go, and I'm going to do it here. Because why not? I'm going to prove I'm better than everyone else.
That's what Schweinsteiger was. It's just, he was that. He embodied that.
Well, and let's not pretend if
embody physically.
Well, let's not pretend if in 2018, instead of letting half the good players go and signing no one, if we had made some signings and built on that team, we would have been really, really good. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that brings me to my next question about building, and it's looking at Shaqiri. We briefly touched on this, but is Shaqiri a bust as an MLS DP?
Yes.
Not yet. If this season goes, if we get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, and there aren't like 3 or 4 moments to hang on to this year from him, then yes. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So the reason this is why I say he's kind of a bust. His output is like MLS average at best, maybe a little bit over average. You know, I think the highest amount of assists he had was like 11. There was plenty of other MLS guys that were, that had 15, 20 assists.
That are lower paid.
They're lower paid.
Much lower paid.
And everybody knows that, Shaqiri is a complement piece. He's not supposed to be your centerpiece. He's not your main course. And he thrives on the success of other players, particularly in the midfield. If you get that midfield general, he'll thrive under those conditions. But this is the Fire. We haven't had a midfield general since God knows when. So
we do now, Mr. Kellen Acosta.
Yeah. So
I mean, dude, that's legit. When I heard these people talk about the Fire and like who's going to be the best player on the pitch for the Fire, and oftentimes it might not be Shaqiri, and that seems crazy when he's one of your highest paid DPs. Well, no longer. Kuipers is the highest paid DP on the Chicago Fire, so he's got to live up to that billing. Shaqiri, I'm hoping that they figure something out with him to kind of switch out to maybe the right side, and maybe Guti or somebody somehow swings in.
Here's the thing, though. There was times when if Shaqiri wasn't playing and Guti started, Guti actually played better.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right.
And that gets you thinking, like, maybe we don't need Shaq in the team. Maybe we just need to get another guy that's hungry and is younger.
Well, that brings me to my very next question. Is Shaqiri here at the end of this season?
Nah, not unless if we're on the precipice like Eastern Conference Finals, he might come back to finish the job.
Yeah.
If not, I think he's gone. I think he goes back home to Switzerland and plays in the Swiss League and just rides it out. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I think Shaqiri. This is where we've even talked about this in this podcast. This is where the DP rule and the Major League Soccer rules kill you, because if we were just a team that didn't have to care what the payroll was because the boss paid it and nobody cared and we weren't going into administration, right? Then let's ask that question: is Shaqiri a bust or not?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's just a piece on a team that didn't have enough pieces. He played well.
Wow. But yes, that changes the entire discussion, really.
Yeah.
If he's just overpaid and you don't have a salary cap, so you could just overpay another guy,
But the
Then,
thing
like-
is, the fire used them as their centerpiece. Like
Yeah,
that was gonna be their main guy. That was gonna be the main guy. He wasn't gonna be just another cog. You know, he was gonna be the guy.
Well, I'm liking the spine I'm seeing here. Chicos, Acosta, Shaqiri, Kuipers. I mean, that's not a bad
now
spine.
we have a decent squad. We have a stacked midfield.
And that
So
brings
with that,
me...
hold on.
Okay, sorry.
No, with that stacked midfield, can we move into your other conversation?
Yeah, actually, you're nailing the head of the nail, because this is my core problem, is who to partner with Acosta. And to me, it's not Jimenez. It's not Federico Navarro. I'm sorry. Those guys don't track back. They're lazy bums. If you listen to this podcast, they're
gonna pair him
lazy.
with one of them.
What?
They're gonna pair him with one of those guys.
Well, they should pair him with Fabian Herbers.
Ooh.
That's the perfect pairing for Acosta. Hear me out. Fabian Herbers tracks back. Fabian Herbers runs forward. Fabian Herbers knows how to dribble, knows how to pass, does all the things better than Jimenez as an offender, does all the better things than Jimenez as a defender, does all the better things than Fed as an offender. Maybe not as arguably a better defender as Federico Navarro, but that's where you got Acosta, who is the best defensive midfielder on this team. You pair him with Fabian Herbers. There's the cog to get the ball to Shaqiri, to Selassie, or if it's Mueller, or Guti, or Kuipers up front. That's your engine right there. It's Fabian Herbers.
So, it kind of reminds me of what the U.S. is doing. Like, it's almost like Shaq is in the Gio Reyna role. You've got Kellen Acosta to play the Musa role, and who's going to play the Destroyer, the Tyler Adams role, right?
Well, here, to argue that, I like Fabian Herbers. I do. He's like the utility man. He's a Swiss Army knife. The problem is Fabian Herbert does a lot better coming off the bench than when he does starting.
Well, I argue against this. I say let him start because he scores a lot of goals that way. He stores.
We have started him before, and then he's been at average at best. But somehow, when we call him from the bench, it's just he becomes like super sub.
Okay, maybe. But I was going to say then you have Gaston and Federico as super subs, and them as subs those are really solid MLS subs.
But
gentlemen,
I think go ahead.
I was going to say, gentlemen, I think the worst possible thing happened to us the other day, and Gaston scored a golazo.
Oh, no.
I saw that.
And I think Frank is going to start him and think he's good.
Well, then there's DPG's plan, because then you could bring in Herbers for.
Yeah, that's the thing. I honestly think that Federico's probably more suited to accompany Acosta because Federico likes to move around the field.
He does not. He barely tracks back.
No,
you look at his stats. Look at his stats. By the way, something blew me away. Brady had a better statistical year than Slonina last season. Does that blow your mind?
Not necessarily, but I think Slonina. I think Slonina had an even worse defense.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah,
I think that was the big problem.
Oh,
that wiles me out. So now I have a real serious question for the two of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're looking at one of the biggest holes in the roster, which is Fetty and Gaston.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use your open young DP slot in the summer on a central defensive midfielder or on a winger?
You got to find Acosta's partner. You got to find somebody who could help create chances from the midfield.
Well, we have to see how Frank plays his lineup, because if he goes with the 4-4-2, at that point, why not use the young DP spot to get another striker? Because it's a little thin up there. It
is thin, but you have a kid. Why not play the kid?
Like,
we've had this conversation before.
Mm-hmm.
But do you actually think he's going to play a 4-4-2? Because I've always Frank has always played a 4-3 or a 4-2-3-1 Always.
He's gonna pack the midfield.
Well, we'll see because we remember when we read Kuiper's profile, he's kind of like our last striker, Przybylko, who needs that partner striker. So I do wonder if we'll see a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1.
I'm gonna actually do some research. I'm gonna find out exactly how many goals Przybylko just straight scuffed, like goals that were instant goals that he just screwed up. Because honestly, I feel like Kuipers puts all those away. And
by the way, Casper is gone too. Just for
he's
for
gone.
our viewers.
Gone
he's
to
in Lugano.
Yep, Lugano. I
Good-
saw the
good for him.
picture.
By the way-
It looked sad. It looked a little sad. Like he looked sad. The guy signing him looked sad because they all looked powerless. Like Przybylko did not choose that. I mean, like if you're gonna present him anywhere, yeah, I guess he'll accept that. And the same thing with the FC Lugano general manager. He got told what to do.
Yeah, he got told
You
you're
could
getting-
see it
He
in his
got that phone
eyes.
call. He got that phone call. Said, "Hey, you're gonna sign this guy, and that's it.
That's it.
And you're gonna like it. That's it."
And you're gonna smile when you take the picture.
But then MLS called Heitz and said, "Hey, I like what you did there. I like what you did with Casper there. By the way, that's gonna count as a buyout for your season."
Yeah,
Click, click.
Which is fine because they mutually terminated Hyro's
Terminated
contract.
Hyro.
Mm-hmm.
So
Przybylko had kids and stuff. Like he wasn't terminating his contract. Like he needed to move. Like,
well, let me ask you
Hyro,
this:
he's a kid.
I think Casper bought a house in the Chicagoland area.
Damn.
So, well, hold on. He's probably gonna play. He's gonna retire. He's probably gonna live in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
I think his wife's family's from here, so good for him.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. There's the huge Polish community here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
Which I don't know. Do you know any Polish people?
You got one right here.
Jesus,
Jak
man.
tam. Jak tam.
Yeah.
Co się stało? Mówi po polsku?
Chess. Jesus, guys. When you grow up in Chicago, you pick up Polish.
Oh, it's
I
true.
know.
You said it. You got it.
That's so funny, man.
You got it. Everybody, thanks for joining us here on Enemies of Fire. It's been a heck of a show. We're gonna clip this up and send it out, and this will also be a whole show. This has been fun, guys. This is what is this? Our third?
Yeah.
This is it our third or fourth?
This is our third or fourth. Well, I mean, we've got more than that, but
We gotta pay attention.
And what's the plan going forward? Are we doing this weekly or every other weekly?
Yeah. So for the listener, if you made it this far, you fucking rule. Thank you. Like, subscribe, all that other nonsense, man. Comment.
We love to read them.
Don't bother us on social media and the Discord, whatever, man.
Yeah.
We're here. Come hang out at the games. We'll at least two of us will be at most of them.
Yeah.
And
I'll try to be at a few, and follow us at Enemies of Fire on Twitter.
And every week, I don't know if we have a day yet. What do you guys want to do? We'll talk about that off camera. But we're going every week now since the season's about to. Well, the season did start tonight.
Our Mondays have been great. I like that.
But yeah, I can't tell you. In the last, I don't know, even 2017, I wasn't excited. I didn't see them playing that well. So to be honest, the only time in the last 10 years I've been excited was that 2020 team where we all were like, "Oh, Jairo Torres is gonna be great. Gaston Jimenez, this is awesome!" Like that was the last time I was excited. But
2017 was excitement.
Oh man, this is
what Boston,
But then they missed because 2018 they did nothing to build on that excitement.
They tore down. They didn't build anything.
They tore down. So you're right about that. And 2020 was the last time that we kind of felt excitement. And I agree with you. I am feeling legitimate excitement for this team. Like I see every MLS pundit picking them for 9th, 10th, and 11th, and I understand why. It's because the Fire have buried themselves to a point. Like they are fighting an uphill battle where a team like Atlanta is not. They're fighting a maintaining battle. They're just trying to maintain where the Fire are trying to get where Atlanta is, and they do not have anywhere near the players of depth of talent in every position that a team like Atlanta, a team like Seattle, a team like Austin FC Cincinnati even. Fire are behind the grand majority of the teams in MLS, so that's why I understand when they're picking them to come in 9th, 10th, and 11th. However, I do think that the Fire have the pieces to surprise.
And the measuring stick is on Saturday.
Yep. I think the only issue for us is if they don't gel fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we see like them not understanding each other, like the run goes one way and the ball goes the other.
I don't know if that's going to be likely because Guti's another year older with Shaqiri, with his second year playing with Shaqiri. Like, these guys are molding together. So with another year of Fabian Herbers here. Finally, Fabian Herbers is one of the old heads on the team. Chico's another season of seasoning. Gutman returning with something to prove finally. Wanting to be here. Gaston Jimenez having an absolute resurgence.
Aragoni's the one I think is going to surprise everybody.
I think
he's the one. I put him on
so.
my fantasy team. He's the one that's going to be that's going to surprise everybody. He's going to be hungry.
I think
join our MLS fantasy. Link in the description. Bam. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say I think that our defense and midfield are stacked. Our striker position is a little could use some work, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday is a measuring stick. We're gonna face against Philadelphia, which, by the way, tough team. Didn't they win a supporter shield or close to winning a supporter shield last season?
They were in MLS Cup last year, or 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
They were 2 years ago.
So yeah, it's a tough Philly team. I think what we see on Saturday might not be representative of what we'll see 2 months from now.
No, early MLS never is.
I think we'll stumble out the gate, but I think we'll surprise Cincy at home, man.
Yep.
I think it's going to be raucous. I think it's not going to be full, but we're going to have a lot of people in Soldier Field. It's going to be a good vibe. I'm looking forward to all of it.
Hope to see you guys there, everybody. Hopefully we get a Chicago Fire win. Enemies of the Fire podcast, guys, punt that like button, kick it like a corner kick, and comment below. We love to read them, guys. Signing off. Or is it got any other ones?
Much love, everyone.
Take it easy, guys. Good night.
Good night.